Have you ever wondered how the ancient warriors planned and executed their battles? In the dawn of warfare, military tactics were the cornerstone of any successful campaign. These strategies, though rudimentary by today's standards, were rooted in a deep understanding of human instinct and the natural environment. Among the most fundamental tactics were the assault and ambush. Assaults, straightforward and direct, were about overpowering the enemy with sheer force. Ambushes, by contrast, relied on surprise and deception. Warriors would lurk in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Both tactics, though vastly different, were equally crucial in the ancient battlefield. Skirmishing was another key tactic, involving small-scale fights intended to disrupt the enemy and gather information. Turning flanks or attacking the enemy's side was a strategic maneuver designed to destabilize and confuse. Reconnaissance, the art of gathering information about the enemy, was just as important then as it is now. The creation of obstacles and defenses was also crucial. Obstacles were used to slow down or disrupt enemy forces, while defenses were put in place to protect the warriors and their territory. And let's not forget the importance of using the ground to the best advantage. The natural environment was a warrior's best ally. Heights provided a vantage point for observation and an advantage in combat. Rivers, swamps, and passes could serve as natural barriers, protecting one side while hindering the other. Choke points, where the terrain naturally narrows, could be used to control enemy movement. Natural cover, such as forests or rocks, provided protection and the element of surprise. These basic military tactics, used by the warriors of old, were not just about brute force. They were about understanding the enemy, using the environment, and making strategic decisions. They were about turning the tide of battle, one maneuver at a time. As we can see, some principles of warfare have remained constant over centuries. The essence of these tactics, though evolved, still echoes in the modern military strategies of today. But that's a story for another scene. For now, let's appreciate the ingenuity and tenacity of the ancient warriors who laid the groundwork for the art of warfare as we know it. But as we moved into the 19th century, the face of warfare started to change. It was a time of great transformation, where previously established norms of combat started to dissolve, giving way to new, specialized tactics. Back in the day, military strategies were primarily focused on open battlefield concerns. The primary question was how to maneuver units during combat in open terrain. The tactics were straightforward: assault, ambush, skirmishing, turning flanks, reconnaissance, creating and using obstacles and defenses, and leveraging the natural landscape to one's advantage. However, the 19th century brought a wave of change. Military tactics started branching out from the confines of the battlefield. The emphasis shifted towards the development of specialized tactics for different situations. For instance, methods were devised for securing a room in a building, a situation quite removed from the open battlefield. This evolution was driven by a combination of technological advancements and sociological changes. New inventions and discoveries had a profound impact on the way wars were fought. The advent of more advanced weaponry and improved logistics meant that soldiers could be armed and trained differently. This, in turn, influenced the types of soldiers on the battlefield, from the Greek hoplite and Roman legionary to the medieval knight and Chinese crossbowman. Societal changes also played a significant role. The goals and methods of warfare shifted, necessitating the development of new tactics. The changing societal norms and values influenced how wars were perceived and conducted. It was during this time that the link between technology, society, and military tactics became more evident. The type of weaponry a soldier carried, the logistical support they had, and the societal conditioning they were subjected to all contributed to how they would use a battlefield. Despite the changes, the desired outcomes remained the same: to gain an advantage over the opponent and secure victory. The 19th century was indeed a turning point in the evolution of military tactics. It marked the beginning of a new era, where technology and societal changes began to play a larger role in shaping military tactics. The First World War was a game-changer in the world of military tactics. The onset of this global conflict saw a seismic shift in the way battles were fought, forcing a drastic re-evaluation of established military strategies. The war was characterized by the advent of new technologies, creating a battlefield environment that was vastly different from anything the world had seen before. Machine guns, tanks, poison gas, and aircraft were introduced on an unprecedented scale. These innovations demanded a complete rethinking of tactics, rendering many traditional strategies obsolete. Take the machine gun, for instance. Its rapid-fire capability and devastating power meant that large-scale infantry charges, a common tactic of past wars, were now suicidal endeavors. This led to the development of trench warfare, a defensive tactic designed to neutralize the deadly efficiency of machine gun fire. Soldiers dug deep into the earth, creating a network of trenches that provided some measure of protection against this new weapon. Then there was the tank, a mechanical behemoth that could traverse difficult terrain and break through enemy lines. The introduction of tanks forced military leaders to devise strategies that could counter this formidable threat. Infantry units had to adapt, developing anti-tank tactics and weapons to combat these steel monsters. In the skies, the use of aircrafts ushered in an era of aerial warfare. This was a game changer, as it allowed for reconnaissance, bombing raids, and dogfights, adding another layer of complexity to military strategy. No longer was warfare confined to the ground. Now, the sky was a battlefield too. Chemical warfare, particularly the use of poison gas, introduced a horrifying new element to the conflict. This insidious weapon forced the invention of gas masks and necessitated strategies to deal with the threat of chemical attacks. The impact of the First World War on military tactics cannot be overstated. It was a period of rapid change and adaptation, a brutal learning curve where the cost of failure was measured in human lives. The First World War marked a turning point, setting the stage for a new era of warfare. In recent times, we've witnessed the emergence of what's known as grey zone tactics. These are strategies that have stepped out of the conventional warfare playbook, reshaping the face of military operations today. Grey zone tactics encompass a wide array of actions. They range from strong-arm diplomacy, where political pressure is exerted to achieve strategic objectives, to economic coercion, a tool used to manipulate economies and force compliance. These tactics don't just operate on the physical plane. They've extended into the digital arena, where media manipulation and cyber attacks are increasingly employed. It's a new kind of warfare, where the battlefield isn't bound by geographical limitations. They also include the use of paramilitary groups and proxy forces. These are forces that aren't officially part of a country's military, but are supported by them to carry out operations that may not be officially sanctioned. This gives the supporting country plausible deniability, adding another layer of complexity to the grey zone approach. But why are they called grey zone tactics? It's because of the ambiguity they carry. They exist in the grey area between defense and offense, between peacekeeping and war efforts. They're not quite war, but they're not exactly peace either. They're somewhere in between, making them difficult to categorize and even more challenging to counter. These tactics exploit the thresholds of traditional conflict. They operate below the level of open warfare, creating confusion and uncertainty among adversaries. They're designed to achieve strategic objectives without triggering a full-scale military response, taking advantage of the hesitation that comes with the uncertainty they create. Grey zone tactics represent a significant shift in modern military strategy. They blur the lines between peace and war, forcing us to rethink how we approach conflict. They challenge our traditional understanding of warfare, pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable in the pursuit of strategic objectives. In essence, grey zone tactics are changing the game. They're introducing new layers of complexity and ambiguity, reshaping how we understand and respond to threats. They're a testament to the evolving nature of conflict, a reminder that as long as there's strategic advantage to be gained, the tactics of warfare will continue to adapt and evolve. So, where does the future lie for military tactics? As we delve into the future, we're on the brink of an era where technology will become the driving force behind military strategies. The rapid advancement of technology combined with shifting societal norms is poised to revolutionize the battlefield. Take artificial intelligence, for instance. This technology has the potential to alter the fundamental dynamics of warfare. AI could be used to predict enemy movements, analyze patterns in data that the human eye might miss, and even control autonomous vehicles. As AI becomes more sophisticated, it may play a role in decision-making, perhaps even eliminating the fog of war. But this isn't without its pitfalls. An over-reliance on AI could lead to unanticipated consequences if the technology is hacked or malfunctions. Drone warfare is another game-changer. These unmanned aircrafts can carry out precision strikes, reducing the risk to human soldiers and potentially changing the face of ground warfare. Drones could also serve as eyes in the sky, providing real-time intelligence and even acting as a deterrent to enemy forces. But perhaps the most profound change will come from the realm of cyber warfare. Cyber attacks can cripple a nation's infrastructure, disrupt communications, and sow chaos without a single shot being fired. As our reliance on technology grows, so too does our vulnerability. The battles of the future may not be fought on land, sea, or air, but in cyberspace. And let's not forget the societal changes at play. As our world becomes more interconnected, the lines between combatants and civilians blur. Warfare is no longer just about defeating the enemy on the battlefield, but also winning hearts and minds. This shift necessitates new tactics that respect international law and prioritize the protection of civilians. So as we gaze into the future, we see a landscape that's vastly different from the battlefields of old. It's a world where technology reigns supreme and where societal norms dictate the rules of engagement. But no matter how much warfare evolves, the ultimate objective remains the same: to protect and preserve. As we look toward the future, it's clear that the evolution of military tactics is far from over.